low and selling high is the most misunderstood advice I've ever heard when investing in stocks. It's resulted in is the most misunderstood advice I've ever heard when investing in stocks.
How's everybody? How's everybody? So we had a bit of some technical difficulties. Alright, so how is everybody doing today, this fine Thursday, the 21st of January 2021, and it is 11 past the hour, and let's get into things since we're about 10 minutes behind here. So first of all, there is this little disclaimer here that I'd like you to read through as we prepare for this session here. All right, and some exciting stuff going on, of course, with the new president being inaugurated yesterday, and Janet Yellen is looking like she's going to be the next Treasury Secretary, and all sorts of interesting things coming through on the political scene, which have, of course, some implications for the markets, right? So I think everybody is excited to see what is ahead of us, or some people maybe not so excited, but nevertheless, we're about trading the currency markets. And this is what we've got on offer coming in January and February, is really just how we approach at Trade with UFOs, trading the currency markets with our Forex in Action online class that we're doing live. It is from January the 30th until February the 5th, so it is 7 days, but I need to update this too. It should be 7 days, and actually it's only 2 hours per day, so that way we're able to kind of give you everything in a 2 hour sort of slot, which we find is good for people, to maybe spend a couple of hours each day just to go through this training with us, and of course show you how to use our trading technologies, right? And so one of the things that we will show you is how to use our AutoUFOs and AutoClimate trading apps, which we use in TradingView. And so those are going to be activated complimentary and will remain active during 3 months, so that you can practice and also come to these sessions each week to see what is is going on, how we're using them. Okay, so with that, let's go in and take a look what's been going on. So of course it's a good thing to see what news has come out and what is coming out. So there's a lot of information around interest rates coming out. Bank of Japan have already given their decision, which unsurprisingly is going to remain at minus 1%. So you're basically paying them to keep your money, and the the ECB rates, well, basically zero. So you got nothing. So no wonder everybody's kind of piling into the other markets like Bitcoin, into the stock market, and any sort of other asset that they can get their hands onto. I mean, who wants to keep the money in the bank and have to pay the government for keeping money, or not getting anything at all, right? So not the thing that you want to do. And so if we just look at the dollar index, you can see here that I'm going to make this a little bigger, that in terms of the 4 hours, so let's actually go to the daily just to get a bigger picture of what's been going on from a trending perspective, the market climate perspective, we've basically been positive, right? But only really 3 days where we had, confirmed sort of uptrends there, buy mode, and we have subsequently, sold off a bit, come back a bit of a retracement here, not reaching these prior highs anywhere along here, and so we're having a bit of a pause basically in the dollar, and this shorter term trend line that was drawn here on the 4-hour kind of indicates that change, right, in the break in the trend, this move up here. And so again on the 4 hours we kind of see that reflected on that shorter time frame, right, where we had the strong move to the upside, subsequent sell-off, forming this trend line, and then confirming that a little later, right, and again testing the trend line, but then breaking it, retesting it, and then selling off here. So we have a little bit of a pause in this move to the upside of the dollar. Could we get some sort of support coming in here, testing this prior low, or holding of this prior low? We'll see. Or will we continue to get more pressure to the downside, a continuation of what looked to be a strong downward trend like previously that we had here, right? Pretty strong downward trend that was very persistent. Okay, where is my line gone? Try again. Okay. Let's make that a better color than black. Alright, there we go. Okay. So that had broken that downtrend line, and so are we seeing any sort of change in that trend? Definitely not encouraging, right, this sort of move here, but it is not moving to the downside yet, until we see further lows breaking, in particular this low here. If we're going to get any real continued trend to the downside, which is still possible, right? I mean, with all the quantitative easing that's coming out, with free money coming out, that just puts a lot of supply out there, and so undoubtedly that would dilute the demand for dollars, So that's why I'm betting on the dollar side. Now, what we had looked at previously was the Aussie, right? And so this is what happened. Okay, so I kept those trend lines out there just so that we can see, well, what sort of price action did we have play out in the Aussie. And we had this, and you can go back to my previous videos on YouTube. And by the way, just click like if you like any of the videos that we have, or my particular videos, and that kind of gives us a sense of whether the content that we're putting out there is good and and helpful to you all. And if this is your first time, then please also click subscribe so that you can continue to get messages on when we are on YouTube. It's not just myself here pretty much every Thursday, and also on FX Street if I'm not here. There is also Pedro. There's also Bert Opa, right? Who's also coming out here on YouTube. And actually, why don't I just go over there to the YouTube channel? I might see myself out there. Let's just jump over there. And actually, let me just move over there. I can see myself. And yeah, just click subscribe down there. Okay. And of course, there's our videos. So not just myself, there's Bert, there's Jose, Boyan, Ronaldo, there's Bert there, okay, Pedro, right, and Boyan for futures. And how could I forget Becky, right? And then it's Becky, she talks about stocks. So we offer not just talking about Forex, but also options and futures and stocks and lots of other interesting stuff, especially when it comes to psychology, and things like that as well. That's also important stuff we have out here. So take a search of our YouTube channel. Okay, all right. So back to the charts here. So really, what I was talking about a couple of weeks back was really looking at these trend lines, right? And so had a bit of a fake out here, hitting the buy UFOs areas up here, and then subsequently price moved down here, breaking this trend line, right? And also hitting this set of UFOs down here. So why am I kind of talking about this? Because what's important for us to understand, right, is, okay, I don't know, right? None of us know what's going to happen, from this point forward, right? And so we can only, do our analysis, right, based on the information that we have at hand. And so at that point in time, that was the information that everybody saw around the world, right? This downward, triangle, right? This triangle that was forming there, and then subsequently it bounced up here, bounced down here, and now it's heading back up here again, right? So people who trade pennants or formations, or different things like that is drawing the same lines, right, that I was drawing, and of course we need to make assumptions, right, based on that what we're seeing, right, that we're assuming that prices, if they are forming into this triangle, that hey, maybe it's going to break out and then move to the upside, right? But if we also acknowledge that from our perspective with Trader with UFOs, we're able to identify the areas where sellers are interested in selling and the areas where buyers are willing to buy, right? It gives us that additional perspective, right, to say that, well, hey, look, yes, I like to see prices, right, move, with this, triangle that we drew, right? I would like to have seen it, okay? And let me just back this up here, right? I would like to have seen it, move in a way, right, that gives us the continuation, right, to the upside, right? So if price did that, right, which is one expectation that we can have, right, for when we see this price pattern, right, valid analysis, valid expectation, right, but at the end of the day, right, price will do what it wants to do, and it'll respond how it wants to respond, right, to what's going on in the broader markets from a fundamental perspective, but also what at the end of the day the large market players are doing, right? And so that's why while we do have the ability to identify, right, these areas of buying and selling using the AutoUFOs, right? We still have to manage risk, right? We still have to, understand the overall, price action, right, of this market, right, and trade accordingly, right? We're no different, to anybody else, right, who's making a trade decision, whether you're a small individual like ourselves who trade our own accounts, or if you're a big institution, right, you're faced with the same decisions in a way, right, in terms of how you need to manage your risk and what you're seeing, and where you need to be buying, whether you need to be selling. And so as we make these trading decisions, right, as price plays itself out, right? If we just move price forward, hey, price does what it does. It hits, it hit this sell UFO area and it hit this buy UFO area, and it didn't continue, right? We'd like to see a continuation pattern to the upside, right? And we prepare for it, but it doesn't have to do that, right? But at least we manage our risk and we manage expectations accordingly, right? So if you need to adjust your expectations, well, this is how you would need to adjust them. We no longer have a sort of very pointed sort of triangle. Now we've got more of a wedge forming, right? And so based with that information, okay, maybe this is what's going to happen, right? It could just do this, right, and then move to the upside, right? Or it could go to the downside, right? We don't know, but what we do know is that, hey, there is an interest, right, in these areas, right, around, so it's whole number 7,800 here, and down here, closer here, is more around 7,650, if not lower. 7,650 is a little lower than this, about here. Okay. So these are numbers that is of interest. There's some prior support here as well, right, at 7,640. All right, so there are all these different areas, right, where we can factor it into our decision making as to where we buy or sell, right? And so what we need to do is make a decision, right? And clearly, if we are in a uptrend mode, your bias is going to be towards buying down at this level, right? And if it breaks here, then you're going down to here. If it breaks here, then you're going down to here, right? And we can use the AutoUFOs to give us that perspective, right? And so if we want to refine the areas that we want to be interested in, we can easily do that here, right? Okay, we know that we've got an area here, okay, of some support, and also prior support down here, okay, from before. So that at least guides our expectations a little better, right? So we could have some support coming here, okay? And we decide, right, how do we want to trade this? How do we want to trade this? Do we have this sort of expectation here? But price will do what it wants to do, right? And so at the moment, what do we do, right? Well, if we're not at an area of where we believe sellers to come in, then we just wait, and we put our order here, and if price gets up here, it gets up here. If we get stopped out, we get stopped out, because remember, this is that would be a short is a counter trend trade. But if we're waiting, right, for price to continue in the direction of the trend, well, then what we'll be doing is waiting for price to come back down here, right? Is it going to bounce off like this? We don't know. Is it going to come down here, right, and then bounce up? That's also a possibility as well. But the key question you got to ask yourself is, well, are you going to take that trade or not? Right? Are you going to wait for it to come down here or not? What if it doesn't come down here? Are you going to chase it? Right? You're going to be ill-disciplined and chase it, or are you just going to move on and look for other opportunities, right? So these are the things that you're going to have to decide on. How are you going to approach the market? How are you going to analyze it? What tools are you going to use? Are you going to draw lines like I did, right? Or are you going to use some other, indicators to help frame your decision making? Now, you don't want to go overboard, right? And have 50,000 indicators, kind of mess up your charts, or you have draw so many lines that you can't see what's going on anymore, right? The best is to kind of keep it simple, right? But use the tools to do your analysis and just be consistent in what you're doing there and manage your risk, right? And you've got no excuse not to manage your risk, because here, right, you can easily define, right, where you want to enter. Okay, let's say you want to get in 7% even, right? And you definitely have to have your stops, right? And even if you say to yourself, hey, look, you want to, take this whole area. Okay, so let's say that you think that this area of buy UFOs is a little narrow, and you want to just take this whole area, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with entering at 77 and with a stop down at 76, let's call it 35, right? 76.35, right? Which is going to be 65 pips. And if you just want to risk, say, $50 on it, okay, then this is your position size, right? Or let's say $100, right? Whatever is suitable to your account, right? And instead of doing a 1 lot or a 20 lot, or 0.1 or 0.2 or whatever it is, you adjust your position size, right, according to your risk value, right? And of course, now it means that in terms of your target, right, if you're going to get a 1-to-1, well, because you've got such a wide zone, you're going to have to go, an equivalent move, right, to your entry point, right? So is that a reasonable expectation, right, to have that? And it's doable, right? A 1-to-1 is definitely doable within this area here, right? Yeah, if you're going to go for a 2-to-1, okay, now that's a different question, right? Because now, okay, price has to move right up to this area up here, right? So it needs to get through these sell orders, unfilled orders here, okay, where we believe there is interest, right, and where there has been interest before, right? There's been some resistance here, right? Price rebounded here, not once but twice, right? Is it going to do it a third time? Is it going to do it a fourth time? Is it going to do it a fifth time? And then maybe on the 6th time it breaks through, or in the 7th time it breaks through. Who knows? Right? So this is the thinking that we need to have, which is the ability to think through the various scenarios, right? And so it's not all just wanting price or hoping price will do this or that, right? I mean, you've got to at least think through things. You don't have to overanalyze things. You need to trust your analysis, but you also need to just manage your risk, right? And so, what is the market showing you? What is it? How could it play out, right? It could easily play out that price goes down here too, right? That's also possible. But what are you going to do, right? How are you going to trade this? And so what we go through in our basic, Forex in action, right, is how to use, auto climate, right? How do we use auto UFOs, right, in the overall decision making that we have, right? Because at the end of the day, it really is these, areas of of unfilled orders that moves price. And so the question is how we're going to use that to our advantage. Right? Okay, so Aussie is kind of looking, like it's going to ding dong for a little while, a sideways sort of action, right, until it does otherwise, right? And so the decision here really is more for a bias to the upside, because we have this overall strong uptrend. There are areas where price tested, where it hasn't tested, that form new areas of buying opportunities, right? And until these orders, this price area, I guess, is not of interest to the market players anymore, it's going to continue to support, right, this upward price. It's already done it once and twice, right? Is it going to do a third time, fourth? But again, we don't know. But we just have to plan for how we're going to trade Aussie and own it, right? Just own it. Right, similar thing for New Zealand, right? So this is what we're looking at on New Zealand. A bit of also a triangle, right? Kind of forming, did a bit of a fake out, eventually did come down, where my arrow was indicating previously, and it did bounce up this area of buying, right? Buy UFOs, held. Right, so it broke that triangle, came down and has had back up and is now rebounding lower. Right, now it's rebounding lower. So I'm just going to remove this now that we've got that in our discussion done. Okay, and if we had adjusted here, clearly prices is moved up from there, and if we want to just reuse this, so that was the low there, low pivot, low there, and there's a pivot here. Right, so a larger triangle that we could have drawn before. We could not have drawn this before, right? Until today. So let's keep it there. Right. And we've got this high here, kind of equal high, so we may need to expand out that triangle a little bit more. Okay, but we're not going to get any continuation to the upside, I should say, until we break these highs here. Okay, so until then, while we have a bit of a down move here, it's probably more of a retracement, corrective sort of move, and then the big question, of course, is it going to move to the upside, right? So we've already hit this area, gone pretty deep, tested a couple of times. Are we going to break up higher here? We don't know. Okay, we don't know if it's going to do this, right? Or if we are going to get a move rebounding lower, and since this area looks like it's been traded already, if price really does want to come back down here and kind of do this sort of thing, right? To the upside, or it could go down to the downside, right? We don't know, right? To this area here is entirely possible, right? So we need to be flexible. We need to know what scenarios could occur, and set our expectations accordingly. Right? So it could be at this point that it breaks out. Right? We don't know. But what we do know is that there is buying pressure. Right? There has been buying pressure. Has been experiencing some selling pressure, but So is that also telling us something? Are we getting a reversal? Right? Well, we're not going to get. We have been getting lower highs, right, and lower lows, and very clear confirmation of that. After we exceed this kind of low right here, right, around call it 70, right? 70 even. It's tested there a couple of times, prior resistance, right? Prior support, right? So we will see. We will see. Okay. Alright, so for the moment, yeah, it's kind of telling us to be short here. And so if we want to get a sense of where some other resistance is going to be, we've got the UFOs kind of telling us here as well. Okay. A little stronger. Just going to move these over here now. Stronger down here, and also just a little bit above here. It's kind of tested there before, but we'll just kind of take it down here at the pivot. Okay, so this over here. All right. Okay, so New Zealand dollar kind of forming a, maybe a wider type of formation versus the Aussie. But let's take a look at Euro now. So again, Euro, it formed this little triangle, it moved to the downside, continuation move, right? And it hit this prior area of support. Okay. And so I'm going to remove this now. So it's always good just to kind of scrunch things up, kind of see where previous highs were, which may attract some support, especially if it's around a round number. Around at this point here is always good to take note of. Get a rebound off here. And it kind of broke the downtrend line, right? Just a little. Okay. Retested it, came back up. So if we're going to get a reversal, okay, to the upside, then we need to exceed this high here. Okay, so until we break prior highs, we still have this downward pressure in price that we're going to have to fight against, right? And so we are, as you can see here, we've got this dragon, almost like a dragon tail, that is pushing price up, and that's what it did, right? But now it's kind of coming into a bit of an intraday, inside day. If we go back to the daily. We do see that today we had some move to the upside and price pushed down, right? And so that's what we're seeing on the 4 hour, right? Price only went up just this last block of 4 hours, right? Now we're getting a little bit of a pause. Okay, so we've had 4 up bars, but some selling pressure to the downside. So if we're going to get any continuation move to the upside, then we really need to push through this high here, right? If we're going to recover that move to the upside there. Okay, but until then, we just got to stay with it, right? Got to stay with this move to the upside for as long as price is going to head up. Okay. So nothing really to do on the euro in that sense, right? So especially if you're if you're an intraday trader, of course, you probably go down to lower time frames to look for opportunities. So that's where I've got got this drawn here. I had some testing, some prior highs here. Not exactly getting up there. Tried to do it, but I couldn't. Okay, so that's why that area is there. And then if you did want to do another trend line, you could do that here. Just joining those lows. I'll just make that a little brighter. Sorry, that's the wrong one. A little brighter there. Let's see it. Right, so you can continue to buy, right, on the shorter term up to this area up here. That's where I'd be looking for a little bit of resistance. Okay, we can even around that to down to the 5. Okay. So this little retracement move is not over yet. You still see, at least on this time frame, there is buying pressure, right? It's buying interest in euro. Okay, but yeah, of course, this wick is probably a little bit of, also a bit of an indicator, right? To be cautious of any you know, that there is some selling pressure obviously coming in. And you know, coming into the US Open, of course, we're getting a lot more, you know, volumes coming through. You know, businesses are transacting. You know, the banks, or I should say, the banks are transacting on behalf of businesses. You know, especially after inauguration. You know, people are now paying attention, getting back to business, right? Probably see more flows of you know, overall, right, in the markets, right, as people, I guess, really focus their attention to what's going on in the first quarter. Okay, but they already did that. You know, they couldn't really be bothered about the politics that's going on. It's highly possible, right? But yeah, on the lower end, you know, of the time frames here, this is what we're seeing in terms of price action. So if you're an intraday trader, that could be of interest to you. But otherwise, if you're used to trading on more of the higher time frames, there is that move to the upside, that buying pressure that you get involved with, but really only kind of back down here. Okay, so I'll probably just have time for one more, and that's the pound. Right, so another technique I know people like to use is just kind of, you know, joining the pivot highs and lows together, just to kind of get a sense of the price action that's been going on. You know, and there's different techniques. You know, you could find out there for how people you know, kind of structure their analysis. You know, some people like harmonics, and you know, they've got all sorts of different tools here. I was intrigued to you know, all these different patterns. You know, Elliott wave, ABCD patterns, or you know, nice. Or there's even triangles here and stuff like that. So it's always kind of nice to be able to help, you know, visualize. You know, if you're a very visual person, you kind of like things a little neater. Right, so this triangle, I've never tried this before. Oh, let me see ABCD. And, okay, get all these neat little colors here, right? Yeah, and you know, but if that's a little busy for you, or if you know, if you don't want to be as specific, right? Well, okay, it's a little bright, but go for a blue or something that kind of stands out. Let's just kind of take a look at this. Yeah, I mean, sorts of interesting things you can do with this. That's pretty cool. But if you just like to keep things simple, just to kind of help you visualize, right, where those highs and lows are, so you can draw your your patterns, right? Then this could be, you know, a way to do it, you know. So this TradingView has so many different tools and neat things available to you. You know, just have at it, right? So it's kind of a sending wedge almost, isn't it, on the pound, but clearly bullish, right? Clearly bullish until it's not, right? Until it's not. So let's turn on the AutoUFOs here. So I've got some buying interest coming in here to support any retracement back down to here. Also previously down here, some buying interest come in. So it kind of explains this bounce, a deeper bounce, and more of a shallow bounce. And then the trend line now being able to be formed to support that third bounce here. Right, and so if we're going to break through this area here, so this probably, let's go back to high time frame. Yep, go. So there's an area where we had a pause, right? There was a continuation. These are all continuation areas where price came down, paused, raised around a little bit, and then there was just a lot of selling pressure coming in. Paused a little bit, but continued down. And momentum continued down. Tried to recover a little bit, pushed down, recover a little bit, pushed down, recover a little bit. Strong move down. Right, so it was just relentless, right? Tried to make it up again, couldn't do it, right? Almost, kind of retraced down here, came up, couldn't make past these highs, and so we saw price lower, right? And then it just continued on, right? And pull, right? Jeez, right? So big moves, but now we're seeing a recovery, right? In prices up until this point. We've got this trajectory to the upside being supported, right? But we're hitting some areas of resistance now, right? So can price push through here? Can we see the pound higher past 38? So if it breaks 38, it looks like we are heading towards 139 here, right? So again, this is just context, context. How you trade it is up to you, Is there going to be enough risk, reward for the risk that you take here? These are the questions you're going to have to ask yourself. Right. So even this lower time frame. Yep. So that's where we saw the AutoUFOs here on the 4-hour, and a bit of a cluster here on the kind of confirms that cluster of orders around this area. A little bit of buying expected around this area here, but we kind of always try and rely more on these higher time frames for where those clusters of orders are expected to kind of come in, right? Because orders, they come in and out of the market all the time, right? So that's why the price action here is what it's doing is, what AutoUFOs is doing is identifying where those interest where there's interest in buying to expect it to come in, right? Where it's expected to come in. Okay. But within that location, right, is indications, of course, through price patterns and so forth of to help us understand, right, and help us frame our decision making. And so all of that is important. And how you do that, you may use different techniques than what I'm demonstrating here. You may use moving averages, you may use Fibonacci's, there's a whole ton of stuff out there to help you make your decision, whatever it is, right? What remains the same is going to be, where that unfilled orders move the market, and AutoUFOs helps you to identify those areas and make a trading decision within the context of your overall, strategies and techniques that you use. Okay, so that's where we'll end up today on pound. So basically bullish on pound. We've got on the euro, we have had weakness. Are we going to see weakness kind of come in? In the meantime, we've got a bit of bullish behavior going on. New Zealand and Aussie have been kind of selling off over this month, kind of pulling back to maybe what is a trend line forming here. Yeah, we will see. So just manage your risk, but make a decision. Right, make a decision. All right, so we will end today's session here. Thanks for joining me, Andrew Hahn, at tradewithufos.com is our channel here. Feel free to email me at any time if you have any questions. This is, where is the PowerPoint here? If you're interested in our training session, please join us. Okay, and you can go to tradewithufos.com/Andrew to get more information. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free membership, and you'll get information on our courses. These sessions as well. Give you some reminders, and also about all of the other things that we have out there. Stocks, options, futures. But again, you want to send me an email, send it to andrew@traddictiv.com. Okay. All right. Well, have a very good rest of your day, and we will see you next week.